Mm, mm. Hello, everybody. How we doing today? If you're tuning into this, a few of you that probably are, I'm really excited to be connecting in a little bit more of a long form content way and really allowing the words and the spirit to just flow through our connection. And, I've been in this big kind of portal of experience and wrapping my head around social media as a tool for connection. Honestly, one of my favorite connections. I've always loved these platforms, specifically Instagram, and felt right at home in them. And yet, there's this part of me that really wants to express the depth of my knowledge and lived experience that can't really quite be articulated into the funnel that is this tiny little screen. And so I feel like opening up to even this view of a screen that's landscape and is a little bit more intimate will allow me to speak from the heart and just share a little bit more about life at the moment and some golden threads that are happening that I'm seeing across the board with people. Now, one of the first things that's really on my mind today is that I'm about 1 year into being full time Social Alchemy Institute, full time life coach, full time building a business. And I have learned so much in this year that I wish I had been, in some ways, a little bit more prepared for, a little bit more in the know. And in many other ways, I wish to impart some of this wisdom to someone else who may be contemplating taking the leap and starting their own business too. Now, the first thing is that I could not have imagined how much growth I would have in this year. I mean, truly unprecedented personal growth. And personal growth has always been a priority of mine, but starting my own business has really illuminated and shined a light on every single block that I have. And over and over and over and over and over again, I am continuously shown that the only thing between me and my dreams or my goals or my productivity is me. It's me and me. And there might be many external circumstances with which I like to point a finger at and say, I don't think it's me right now. I think it's actually life or timing or ability or skill. And then I will quickly, sometimes it's not so quickly, kind of break that apart and be shown that something else is really happening with my confidence or my doubt more so. And that just feels like a really important piece of the rhythm of starting a business that I really just want to speak to. Now, for those of you that have emotional authority or are impacted by people that do, I being one of them, I have emotional authority. I have high highs and low lows. And this is my second piece of advice is to really surf the high highs and the low lows and recognize the cyclical nature that is happening within the highs and the lows. Then to embody a sense of detachment around those highs and lows. And this is so hard because when you're high on life and feeling really confident and powerful and in tune and connected and capable, not to mention maybe even a little qualified to be building this business and chasing your dreams, everything feels doable. And then when you ride and coast into that low place, there's kind of this overarching energy that just kind of sets in and it kind of weighs upon you or me. I'm going to speak in I terms, weighs upon me like, what am I doing? And is this really going to work? And I haven't done enough and I'm not being enough and I'm not trying enough and I'm not, all these stories come up. And if I'm not careful, I can really put that on like a wet blanket and become it. And it's not actually effective for me to be in that way for too long, to be in that low for too long, because the stick that I pick up is a really big stick, and I kind of use it against myself. And there's no truth to anything that's coming up in that time. But what I envision and what I've learned through some really powerful flower essence journeys is that I'm actually in a little bit of a spiral. And if you're watching this right now, I hope you can see it instead of just listen. But if not, it's totally fine. I'll paint a picture for you. What I know about my experience to be true is this. Over here on the left is Tessa, and Tessa presently is wearing these kinds of clothes, into these kinds of things, feeling this kind of way, working on these things. And she kind of feels like this right now. And then she enters into this version of Tessa, enters into a spiral, a little washing machine. And in that initial spiral, it's a little clunky. It's like, who am I? What am I doing? What's all this about? And then I kind of shoot out of that up to the top of that spiral and feel really high on life, really sure, really confident, really embodied. Yes, 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 yes. There's a lot of yeses. And then that spiral kind of, and I wash out of that into a bigger low, a deeper bottom in which I'm learning, growing, expanding, really contracting at the same time, too, just feeling like a caterpillar who needs to get out of the cocoon like as quickly as possible. And then if I settle into that, I emerge quite swiftly to the right side, wherein I am a new version. I'm wearing a different kind of style. I have a different kind of energy. I'm into a different kind of thing. And I'm again embodied in this new cycle. And so, what I see as I describe that to you is I can see all of these cycles of my life almost lined up like a painting or a picture. And I can see all the way back to 10 years ago what this pattern has been like for me. And when I zoom out with that perspective, I actually feel so much more at peace with that cadence and aware of the normalness of my way of being in the world. And it helps remind me that I don't need to be perfect when I'm high. I haven't finally nailed it all and I have it all done when I'm high on life. And that the low is impermanent and it actually means I'm closer to the next evolution. Let me know if that's an experience that you have or you can relate to too, especially if you have emotional authority. Let me know. And the third thing that is really true about starting a business is that the exact thing that you want to execute upon and the clarity that you're really kind of looking for in order to execute on it and do it to the way that you want to do it always comes. Clarity always comes. Now, the catch 22 of this is that the clarity doesn't always come right when you want it to. In fact, it almost never does. And when you release of that, I want it now. I want to know right now what I'm doing and where I'm going and what it's going to be like and how many people are going to be at this event. And you just let that simmer. What unfolds and what arises is the clarity that, oh, yeah, maybe this isn't the exact right time. Maybe I do have a lot going on. Let me see if I do a temperature check. Let me see what clients are interested in this. And on and on and on. And when I wait for that clarity, the right door opens at precisely the right time. And I have the energy available to do it really, really well. Which brings me to the fourth thing I've learned, which is standards, standards and integrity. I cannot downplay the lessons that I have learned in my own standards of perfection and execution, as well as being in integrity with my ability to perform at that standard of perfection instead of picking up that big stick and berating myself when I don't have that ability to do something at that time. Curious if that resonates for any of you listening to this too. Because if you have any kind of performing or people pleasing roots, and you're working with something as tender and as personal and as soulful as building your own business, that perfectionism and standard and integrity are really, really enmeshed. And they can kind of take turns being in front and rearing their head. And really, they just all want to be heard. So I'll give a little microphone to my standard, to the way I want things to feel, how I want people to experience something. And then I also give way to my perfectionism. And I kind of have a conversation with this part of me and say, hey, it's okay if it's not perfect. It's okay if you're not right where you want to be right now. You're learning. And that helps with perspective. I'll remind myself of, in the grand scheme, how little of time I've been doing this and how my heart is in the right place. And that's enough fuel for now. That tends to kind of temper that perfectionist in me. And then the integrity piece comes along with accountability and reflections from loved ones. Like, does this feel like it's working? Does this feel like it's true to me, authentic to who I am and what I'm trying to accomplish? And then this really shows up a lot in marketing and in social media. And this comes back to me as a truth, my truth as a human being and as a professional coach, as a, all those nouns and words I could throw in there, but I don't feel like I need to, because what's so much more important is the essence of who we are and how we really want to be in this world. It's so much more important than the titles and the nouns. And I really desire in my heart of hearts to be in integrity with that version of myself and to make those moves with those standards and that execution day in and day out, and to temper the perfectionism with reality of what is and what is unfolding and the rhythm of life itself. So those are a handful of the things that I have learned in my one-ish full year of doing this Social Alchemy Institute full time. And there's so much more I could dive into in there, but some of these voices or patterns I see across the board in people who really want to do something or are in the middle of doing something, took the leap, started building it, and are in kind of this crunchy, mushy, gushy place that we actually all have this in common. It's kind of a universal experience. And if I knew that it would be like this, I think it would smooth it all out a little bit. And so I'm here to say, whoever's listening to this, that you're right on time. You really are. And whatever you're contemplating doing, or wherever you are in your journey, I hope that this lived experience helps you out a little bit and softens your transitions and your sense of self throughout all of it, because that's really, really, really most important, as well as staying true to the initial vision that you had of what's possible here. What creation energy from you do you feel like this world can't live without? That's all I have to say for now. I'm going to keep it short and sweet and just say thank you for tuning in. My very first appearance with this microphone. And yeah, there's going to be many more of these. I hope you have a beautiful day and I look forward to connecting soon.